So I like to start every episode with a few quick questions to help my audience get to know you. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, you are. All right. First one. What's your morning routine? How do you like to start your day?
Right. So I first thing that happens as soon as my legs swing out of the bed, is I'm just giving thanks. I'm just giving thanks for being awake, being alive. It's such a simple one, but it's just I don't know. It's a lot of people wake up. Well, some people don't wake up. Is the real truth, right? And I know
Mhm.
life can be fraught with challenges, life can be fraught with heaps of joy. But it's, there's that opportunity to recognize, hey, I'm part of this grand experiment, this great mystery that, you know, God, only God really knows what life's really about, right? And so just an opportunity to just take a moment to just thank all the goodness, touch wood, that's in my life. So starting my day with that sort of positive mindset, just going, yep, you know what? I'm really grateful that today I get to wake up and I get to experience life in whichever shape, form, or manner it pops in. Then usually it's just a quick meditation. Usually when I like to sit to meditate, it's anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes, but in the morning it's just like nice and short, sharp and shiny. Could be anywhere from 5 minutes where I'm just could be a short version of the 6 phase meditation is what I'm doing these days, which is, I don't know if the tuner listeners know, there's Vishen Lakhiani from Mind Valley put together a 6 phase meditation. It's a bit more of an active meditation than a passive meditation. What I mean by that is passive meditation is you sort of sit back and you sort of watch sort of your breath, your thoughts as they emerge, and you sort of that, like the metaphor, if you guys haven't heard it before, is like there's cars going by on the road and those are your thoughts, and usually you jump in the vehicle and you go where your thought goes, but you sort of come back off out of the car, sit on the side of the road and watch the thoughts just sort of go by, and follow your breath. And that's the passive meditation. But with the active meditation, Vishen gives you 6 things to sort of focus on. The first one being compassion and interconnectedness, and he runs you through a quick guided version. Now, I teach this myself, so I've sort of found a way to compress it into 5 minutes rather than the full 25-minute meditation that he offers. So, compassion, phase one. Phase two is gratitude again. Phase three is forgiveness, letting go of stuff, shedding that weight. Phase four is about visualizing your ideal future. Phase five is visualizing your ideal day. And phase six is calling in a blessing. So those are the 6 phases, and I can sort of move through them relatively fast now that I've been doing this practice for well over 3 years now. So yep. So then 6 phase, then it's usually something as simple as hydrate. So I usually drink 2 liters of water in the morning, and then probably
Two
oversharing.
leaders.
But yeah, it's been a bit of a practice now. I've been
I
doing this
love
for
that.
since I can remember, just because, yeah, like hydrating your body
Uh-huh.
overnight. So much of, like, I like to hydrate before I go to bed, and then also when I wake up in the morning, just because your body, yeah, just will function so much better when it's fully hydrated. And then just vitamins, minerals, stuff like that. Chuck them in. Hit the shower. I love me a good shower to start the day. And then, yeah, based on there, depending on different days, different stuff will sort of start to flow from there. But that's usually the very compressed routine. Now, I remember there was, yeah, one of my favorite, one of my friends has a YouTube channel, and he has this awesome parody, right? Which is like he's doing the morning routine, and he's gotten up at 4 a.m. And by the time he's finished his morning routine, it's way more entertaining than I'm giving it justice in this little nutshell. But by the time he's finished his morning routine, it's 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like he sneezes and pills come out of his nose, and it's just the best, right? Like, and so I have to admit, I was one of those people. Like, I used to
Mhm.
have this 3 hour morning routine, up at 5, and was ready to face the day by 8. But over time, especially becoming a parent as well, that really has been a massive game changer. You become much more efficient in your ways, but also minimum effective dose is something that you really start to consider. It's like, what do I really need to really just, get me into like that optimum zone? And 80% good enough is good enough,
Yeah.
is great. So that's been a journey that I've been weaving on. And it's not that I've been trying to hack or optimize it. It's just necessity of becoming a parent. You've got a multitude more things to consider. So yeah, now
Yeah.
that's pretty much where it's at these days.
I love that. I mean, I definitely, if I have the space, I'm definitely like a 3 hour morning routine kind of
Yeah.
person. But then there are some days it's not going to happen. And that's why I love to ask that question, because some people it's so short and simple. And then other people it's
Mm,
much more involved. And just so people can understand, like, many things can work. And I think a lot of
mm,
people in this space feel pressure, or they're like, it's like an 8-hour process and not everybody has time for that. And it's also not necessary, so I love that.
Just
6
on
days
that
of
note, I
meditation.
just quickly
Yeah.
interject. Equally as important as a morning routine is also a shutdown routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have
What's
found
yours?
like so playing the guitar. Yeah, and it's
Mm,
something as simple as coming back to, playing the guitar. Because for me it's like it's joy. Yeah. So
mhm.
for me it's connecting to joy. And I like and everybody will have something different, right? It could be journaling, could be just taking a moment to meditate and just unwind again. But it's giving cues to my mind to actually shut down, wind down for the day. And the guitar for me was like, I really want to connect to more joy in my life. And it was just really simple. It's like you're happy when you play the guitar, bro. So 10 minutes of guitar every night. And obviously that 10 minutes, because it's something I enjoy, blows out, which
Yeah.
is great, right? It's a
Yeah.
blessing. And I find the guitar to be quite meditative because the minute I slip up, it's like, oh yeah, you're not present. And then from there, again, hydrate, magnesium, brush your teeth, all those basic sort of things. And you start to wind down. And then, yeah, rattling off about 5 things that I'm grateful for that have happened that day, and then going to bed in that kind of state.
Love it. Lots of gratitude, lots of hydration, maybe some supplements, which leads me into my next question, which is, what is a product you are really enjoying right now? So that could be a supplement, it could be a book, it could be a musical instrument, it could be an essential oil, it could be a crystal, it could be anything, any physical item that you're really enjoying right now.
Yeah, it's my guitar.
Okay, there you go. Is it a special guitar?
Look, it's made in Brazil.
Okay.
It's made from Brazilian rosewood, which is just amazing. And I could nerd out on guitars for ages. So I'm conscious that I'm going to chew up all the podcast just talking about guitars. But it's a classical guitar. Yeah, just I don't know. It's for me, it's like a good friend.
Yeah.
It's very alive. And yeah, it just brings me so much that sort of creative expression. And we can talk a little bit about this later, but the opposite of my journey has taught me that the opposite of depression is actually expression, and it gives me a space to sort of creatively explore and grow and build, and even just little things for my mindset, like things that are completely out of my reach when I'm practicing one night, and then a week later, just going through the motions, like I can actually integrate it, and I'm like learning, and I'm actually doing so much better with it. And it's like, actually, we just grow, like we just grow and learn things that are so far out of our reach. It's a really beautiful, yeah, way to learn things. So the guitar, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love the energy around that. I can tell you love it. You completely light up. So that's how you know it's good for you, right?
Absolutely.
My next question is, do you know your astrology, sun, moon, and rising?
I know. Yeah, actually, I do.
Yeah, you do. What is it?
I'm one of those.
Yeah.
So I'm totally a Virgo.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely a Virgo. That's my sun sign, and so my rising is a Taurus, which took me a while
Same.
to sort of come to terms with. Yeah, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus
Um,
rising. Why was it
yeah,
hard for you to come to terms with
well,
that?
because for a long time I actually thought I was a Virgo, and I kept feeling it's like maybe I'm a Virgo Leo cusp thing because I
Uh-huh.
really feel very Leo and in my being. And it was, but I think there's a synergy between Leos and that boldness and that sort of and Tauruses, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that explain a lot. But I'm really gooey on the inside, but very meticulous and very like
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely an earth sign. So Virgo, Taurus, and deep down on that's Scorpio.
Oh, Scorpio
Scorpio.
moon. It's your season right now. It's your
Yeah,
season.
which is I'm still landing in that one. Yeah, identify with the Virgo, identify with the Taurus much more, but the Scorpio is something I'm still sort of coming around to
Yeah,
this is
I can see
settling
that
into
for
that.
you. I can see that.
Really?
I think a lot's going to open up for you when you get into that Scorpio energy.
Yeah.
Like just
Okay.
getting deeper into it. It's spicy. There's a lot in there. It's that spiciness. So I think that's going to be good. Keep
Okay,
me
awesome.
updated.
I look forward to it.
uh
I'm encouraged by this
good,
conversation.
good, good. So last thing here is, what is a topic you're really interested in recently? So that could be something you're learning about, something you're just pondering yourself. Like, what's been on your mind?
Oh my God, how much time do you have? So,
All of
Gene
it.
Keys is something I've been
Oh.
getting accredited in as a guide and coach, which has been really awesome. And it's sort of, well, it is based on astrology, which for
Mm-hmm.
the life of me, I never really thought I would be I'm an engineer, right? So for, by qualification, so for me, it's like, okay, so now I'm tapping into astrology to help people with their purpose, but it's incredible. Every person that we've facilitated this work for, watching the readings come together, and it's just like, wow, this is really on point, and it's been really supportive. So, just trusting the flow. So, Gene Keys has been really, really, really awesome. At the moment, the book that I'm reading is called The Mood Cure,
I love that book.
and yeah,
I
it's
I
incredible, right?
literally just sent that book to somebody yesterday.
Boom, there you go.
Yeah, there it
Yeah.
just comes up.
So
Yeah.
four neurotransmitters that are basically responsible for our mood and the current diet. And I've had Zach Bush on the podcast, and he talks about how our soil health is our gut health, is our mental health, which is a long story. I've obviously encapsulated a very long podcast into about 3 sentences, but this book is yeah, it's been really profound to sort of go, okay, like these are, and it's a very easy sort of diagnosis in there, and you can sort of have a look and you start reading the chapters on which neurotransmitters potentially are the ones that are lacking in your life, and how to basically get the right food in so that you can support your support your mental well-being.
Yeah, that book totally saved me. So like when I was at the depths of my depression, when I was in college, and I had been on every antidepressant at the time, like it was before I like got into health and wellness, and nothing was working. And then they diagnosed me SSRI intolerant. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And that was part of, the turning point for me of like, I've got to figure this out, like naturally, or what else can I do? And I found that book. And so I went through the protocol in there, and doing the amino acid therapy completely changed my life. Like it was night and day. And I was so shocked. I was like, why is not everybody talking about this? It's so powerful.
Yep. Does it? Sorry, I'm just going to go on this little tangent. I get irked by some of this stuff, and I know I've got to work on this for me personally, but part of me is like, nature was just so perfect the way that I don't want to romanticize about times past, but it's also the way our food's produced, and it's stripped of all these aminos, and like serotonin is one that everyone is, and the book talks about this, so I'm paraphrasing now, but serotonin is one that's actually lacking in a lot of our foods for our mental well-being, but it's also the way our food is produced now that actually strips it of the serotonin, and or the tryptophan basically in our foods, which encourage the serotonin. And I'm just like, I just keep looking back at things, and like things, we're sort of trying to better nature, but nature kind of had its way, and it's like a lot of what I feel like we're coming back to with this sort of conscious awareness, conscious movement, is to bring back some basic level of harmony that we had with nature. But yeah, some part of me gets rubbed the wrong way. I was like, damn it, we had it so good. Didn't even know it,
I feel the same. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. And the other day I was getting a lymphatic drainage treatment, and I was like meditating, and I'm talking to my guides, and I'm like, I can't believe all of the work I have to do to like detox my body. Like it's so much work to detoxify my body from all the toxins. And I'm like thinking about, people from hundreds of years ago, like they didn't have to deal with all of this. And it's like we created things to try and solve problems, then created so many more problems that now we're in this shit storm.
She just called it out for what it is.
Yeah,
it's something as simple as sneakers, right? Like you're walking around in sneakers, and they were like designed to help people run. And all of a sudden, everybody wears them. Everybody used to walk around barefoot, super grounded all the time, and the earth actually absorbs all the electrons out of your body and just grounds you and takes all that toxicity away. And now you're just like insulating yourself to the nth degree, and then you're like, yeah, anyway, I could talk about this forever. It's obviously been a fascination of mine. It's one of yours as well.
Yeah, well, and because I feel like so often, and I'm sure you see this a lot, like coaching people, the solution that's actually going to work is often so simple. It's going back to basics. It's really simple stuff. And people think, well, that's too easy. And so we've created this culture where a lot of times people don't do it because it seems too easy. It's like, if you stood on the ground for an hour a day, how much would your life transform? But that just seems so not complex enough, I feel like.
To a lot of people. Bear, this is a huge thing. I actually talk about this from stage. So yeah, whenever I find, actually, there's wisdom in the simple. Yeah, and because life is actually meant to be quite straightforward and simple. Now, simple doesn't necessarily always mean easy because of the way society's constructed. Like, we've got all these obligations on our time. And like you said, like just it's simple. I just go stand in the ground for an hour with your feet, on the bare earth. And it's like, I don't have an hour. That's not easy. All right. So all of a sudden it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. So, and
I
even
don't
like
have
Eckhart
grass
Tolle,
anywhere around me. That's what everybody says. They're like, I don't, where would I stand? Everything's concrete. The closest park is
find a pot
30
plant,
minutes later.
stand in your pot.
Literally. If you have to do it, you have to do it.
But even Eckhart Tolle, the power of now is like I've been working with his work for it was 5 years now, been certified by Eckhart and doing that work. So, but the power of now, like it's all now, like it's just everything you ask him now. Just come back to now. Who's asking? That person's predicting in the future, predicting the past. Come back to the now, and it's like it's so simple, but it's not necessarily easy. Yeah. But what I've learned over the time, and especially having been in self-improvement, personal development for the last, over a decade now, sort of offering myself out as to support others and serve others for the last 6 years. If someone's complicating something, your mind loves it. Yeah, your mind really hooks into it. But really what's happening is they're trying to sell you something. and that's literally been like a truth that I've had to come home to. It's like if it's complicated, someone's selling me something. If it's simple, like water, breathing, yeah, these things are free pretty much. Like they're absolutely free and they're abundant and they're simple and it's the way life is meant to be. Yeah. And so even just like connecting to that and like the reframe of the mindset that it takes to sort of recognize actually it really is the simple things and that it's hard as well. Like I'm not going to lie, like I suffered from what I thought was savior syndrome for a while. Yeah, and maybe because I'm Indian and we've got that background of like, yeah, someone's like, I need a guru to come show me the way. I need a dispeller of the light. That's what guru means, right? To sort of a dispeller. Dispel someone to just dissipate the darkness. Yeah, bring her the light, to light my way. And yeah, I just for a while I was like, life is in this really sticky situation, and it's not what I want it to be. And I know I'm meant for more, but there's going to be a point where something will change. And I'm sure that it's connected to someone showing up. And it totally was connected to someone showing up. It was connected to me showing up. Yeah, it was me sort of coming out and going, actually, I deserve more. And I can dig myself out of whatever sort of troubles I'm in and, connect to whatever's inspiring me to evolve and take me to that place where I want to go. And so that's this realization that actually things are simple, but also we're waiting for other people to sort of connect us to something, and it is a bit of a trap at times. Yeah, so the simple things are the most important things.
Yeah, here's my question. I have a few things from there. Like, how do you support people in their journeys and make sure that they are not, like, just can't make sure they're not, but manage them, maybe potentially trying to outsource that onto you, right? Like that balance of supporting other people in their own transformation and journey. And sometimes the client can feel like, oh, this person's my savior now. Like, what's the balance there?
For me, the minute we start coaching, so firstly, the big ticket for me is I don't sign up for one-on-one, like single coaching sessions anymore. Yeah, that was like a long time ago when I was starting out as a coach. Now, when we sign up, we go, generally it's a 12-month journey. I've made some exceptions here or there, like for friends where it's like, yep, we can go for a 6-month journey, but we go for a 12-month journey. And as a frame, as a container, that's really important because they're going to go up, down, and all around. Yeah. What you're asking about is they'll have a projection and they'll sort of be like, okay, you save me. Now, one of the first things that happens in the very first call is we go in and go, hey, like, I know, there's this relationship between coach and client, but honestly, you've bought coaching, but what you're getting is a really intimate friend. Yeah, like a really, really intimate friend. And we're going to talk about things. There's going to be points in this journey. And it's true. There's points in the journey where I'm learning from the client. And it's absolutely, I mean, just because of the depth of conversation that we're having. And these are conversations that unfortunately in society, we just don't have anymore. It's like stuff is coming up for people, the way they feel, and they're repressing it. And it's really important stuff. And it's actually attached to their dreams, but they just cannot give it a voice. They can't speak about it to their loved ones. They can't speak about it to their children, to their parents, to their cousins. They don't have someone they can really communicate that to, which I think is like a symptom of culture needs improving, in my humble opinion. But that's the place we go into. And so from that place, I find I often come from a place of, I'm not leading you anywhere. Yeah, we're on this journey together. I'm going to be learning from you. You're going to be learning from me. Yes, you're the one that's made the investment in coaching, but I've also made the investment in myself to continuously grow and evolve and have deeper, more meaningful, insightful conversations through the inspired evolution, you know, continuing to grow all that is there. And hopefully, you know, the exchange is honored and is worthwhile for you. And it has been, you know, for everyone that I've coached, touch wood, so far. So that as a precept, like that's really important. For me, it's like, I'm not here to dig you out of anything. Yes, I've got some answers, and actually, you know what the truth is? You've got a whole bunch of answers as well that I'm going to learn from. And it's been true for every single client I've had. I've learned something from them. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I love that perspective. And I feel like there's so much healing and expansion in just the setup of the container itself, of for somebody to have the experience to be able to fully open and share and have somebody that can really see them and hear them and be alongside them. I find that for like so many people, there's so much healing in that. And there's a perspective shift of, oh shit, what about the rest of the relationships in my life? Right? Like once you actually experience support in a container.
Yeah. And also, as you're sharing, what I'm like, one of my deepest realizations, like the podcast has really taught me to listen. Like that's been
Yeah.
a huge thing, because as a person of a journey, you learn and you like, you want to start sharing, and it's like, dude, this helps, this helps, this helps. Have you tried this? Have you tried this? And you know, your advice giver go like, it like just is like, whoa, the fire on that advice giver, learning to like just turn that down. And I find myself in coaching sessions, like listening for a long time, like you said, and there's healing in the listening. Like people just need to be heard. This stuff just being heard, it normalizes it, and it just sort of just allows the charges to drop. But then also, you know, being crafty as a coach, and like, yes, I've got answers, but those are my answers. Yeah. And going, hey, like, what would you do? Like, what would you tell yourself in this instance? Like, what do you think is your next step? And allowing their wisdom to sort of come forward and be like, I don't know, you know, and giving him a good, like, you know, and giving him a good 5, 6 opportunities at answering that question, you know, and that could take a grand total of only 5 minutes in, you know, a 90-minute coaching session. Like, it's not that much time to just go, but what would you do? And it's like, I don't know. It's like, think about it for a bit. What would you do? You know, it's like, if you had to tell yourself what was your next step, like, what is your intuition saying? What is your gut saying? What is your heart calling you to do? And, you know, usually by time 3 or 4, it's like, well, if I had to, I would do it. And it's like, and in some instances, it's way better than the suggestion that I would have offered myself. And I'm like, let's unpack that. You know, now we're having a conversation, a dialogue about something that their intuition has brought to the fore, right?
Yeah. It goes back to that question. I know, you know, Mark Champagne, you know, what am I pretending not that I don't know, right? What am I pretending not to know? Because I feel so often we can default to, oh, I don't know. It's like, you do though. What if you just took that out of your vocabulary? Now you've just opened up the space to share what you do know. You're just maybe worried it wasn't the right answer, which it is, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think you'll love this, because I've unpacked that question. Well, obviously, Mark will love his work. And I've unpacked that question. I think there's different eyes.
Yeah.
Right? As Christina the channel, it's like, you know, there's different eyes. Like there are certain eyes that don't know, but there's other eyes within you as well. Right? It's like, which identity are you assuming at any given time? Right?
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for you to go, okay, my head doesn't know, my heart knows, my gut knows, you know, my body knows, you know, which eye are you connecting to? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. My ego maybe doesn't know. My higher self certainly does though, you know? So when we talk about like, you know, who's going to show up for you, it's going to be you. What was that moment in your life when you finally showed up for yourself?
For me, it's been a cumulative journey, I have to say. But the one that sort of sticks out the most, well, there's two actually. There was a moment I was sitting on a construction site in my old job, and I was eating an acai bowl, and I was actually sitting there, and you know, people are eating sausage rolls, hot dogs, and you know, meat pie, and there's nothing wrong with that food. Like, you know, sure, you know, if you're that way inclined, you're entitled to it. But you know, it was like, I look at those comic strips, it's like, pick the odd one out. And I'm sitting here eating an acai bowl with my heart in my steel cap boots and a hard hat. And it's like, which one doesn't fit here? And it's like, you know, because the writing was on the wall, bro. But nonetheless, I had this moment where, call it divine intervention, call it what you will. I Googled the word courage, and I know it's like, for most people say, oh, I was in meditation, or I was out there. I was like, I was on a construction site, and I picked up my phone and Googled the word courage. And that was my, moment. Like, for my whole life up until that point, I thought courage was fearlessness. I thought they were like synonymous. I thought they were actually the same thing. It's like to be courageous was to not have fear. And one of my favorite movies growing up was Braveheart. I've watched it like over 100 times, and for me, like he was just fearless. Yeah, he was courageous, and I was just like, oh my god, William Wallace, what a legend. Now, the realization in that moment when I read the definition of courage to the effect of courage is not having fear. Actually, courage is absolutely having fear and moving towards and through that fear. And I was like, oh, and part of me was like, oh crap. Like it was actually this like, firstly because it's this whole like, up until this point, like, almost 28, 30 years worth of like, holding an idea of like what courage was and realizing that I was completely wrong. But then also the realization that, oh, if it is something, it requires fear as a prerequisite for me to be courageous. And then the very next realization was that, oh, it's a skill. Like courage is a skill. Like every time fear is going to show up, I'm going to need to show up with courage to meet it. Oh my God. And the more I exercise that, like, it's like the gym, it's like the muscle. And like, through the process of hormesis, it'll get stronger. And so I was like, and then the very next realization was, what was your biggest fear? And it was like, well, life is in this pretty rosy lane, which is what we're prescribed, right? Which is like, okay, I'm going to grow up, go to school, get really good grades, go to high school, get really good grades, get a really good job, then get a really nice house, get a really nice wife, build a really beautiful family, and then I have all these people around me. And by the time I'm 65 and like, some of my joints are aching, ready to retire, then I can go travel and see the rest of the world. But it's like really hard to get around. And it was just like, this white picket fence lane, sort of red car in the driveway, this lane that was so well mapped out, this institutionalized thinking. And my biggest fear was, hey, what's going on out here? It's like, hey, you're a speaker, you're an entrepreneur, you're an author. Like, how did you do that? And it's like, those were all my inspirations, everybody that was out here. Everybody I looked up to, everybody that I was inspired by, which is why it's called Inspired Evolution. I took that leap of faith. That was that moment that showed up with courage. It was like, actually, if I'm honest with myself, like this is my biggest fear, is like living off the prescribed path. And that is basically, it is weird. For those that are listening, it's like, why would you do that? It's weird. And that's the definition of weird. Weird is doing the unique thing, doing the individualized thing. And so, yeah, it absolutely was weird. But that was the moment where I had the realization where I was like, oh, like that's my biggest fear. And if I'm going to be someone that's courageous, and for some reason there was a spark in me that sort of just wanted to identify with courage. And there was not to sort of neglect all the pain of being misaligned that I've been carrying for over 7 years in a job that didn't serve me. And that was like really dense to sort of navigate. And then the realization of what courage really is, and that courage would shift me. That was a huge moment that sort of went, boom, I've got to show up for me. I've got to show up to face this fear. And one of the nuances in there is, even if I don't figure it out, I will have faced the fear, and I will have been able to say that, hey, like I've at least tried, and I've faced the fear and given it a shot, that was enough. That was enough. Yeah.
What was it about going off that prescribed path that scared you? Like, what was the scary part?
Yeah. So for me, one of my highest values is, well, my highest value is connection. Yeah. In its shadow, it's connection shows up as conformity. Yeah. So there's this conformed path, which, and we're indoctrinated into it. Like I grew up in an immigrant family that gave all of their resource to their child's education. So they gave so much for me to be well educated so I could get a good job and follow that prescribed path really well, right? In this new foreign land for them, so that I could have this wealth of opportunities. And I do have a wealth of opportunities, touch wood, right? And, and the best intentions of mice and men, like I look back at, and like there's no blame on my parents, right? Like I've done that work. So it's like this piece where they're trying to get me, like they were trying to get me to be a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. they didn't know that Facebook marketing strategists was going to be a career, or TikTok influencer would be a career. Like these careers that are now starting to emerge. They had no idea that these things existed. Like I talked to them, it's like, yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. And like, you're a YouTuber. Like, what? What is YouTube? It's like, and now they watch it, they love the episodes, they're tuning in, but like for them that could be a career is just like so beyond even their thinking. So they had the best of intentions, right? They wanted to afford opportunity when you come back to the essence of it, and the opportunities are there. So that I think the indoctrination of, and not just my parents, but society in general, because they were influenced by what society expects. And we talk a lot about culture. Vishen, another, again, my mentor, from Mindvalley, he talks about the culture scape. He talks about culture actually is a physical landscape that you're embedded in, and it shows up in all the little things. It's like, for me, when I jump on a tram, or for those that aren't, in Tram Cities, train, I see like a younger kid sitting while an older lady sort of standing, and there's this visceral thing in my gut which goes, dude, stand up. Oi, oi, stand up. It's like, give up your chair, give it up. And but I don't know, maybe that kid's got some sort of learning disability, maybe he's injured, maybe there's something going on for him, but that gut feeling which won't turn off, it's like, dude, stand up. That's my culture. I was raised with respect your elders. Now I think it's a good thing, but he obviously is completely oblivious to it because he's in a very different culture to mine. Right. So culture plays out, and that's like such a subtle nuance. There's me just hopping on public transport to sort of see something different happening. Right. It's everywhere, to the jobs we get, to the relationships we form. It's in everything. Right. So culture is a big, 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 big part of why we sort of follow the prescribed path. It's, and the fear of falling out, like, the conformity that I mentioned earlier on. It's, some people have put it this way: our brains continue to evolve linearly, whilst society continues to evolve exponentially, especially with technology and the way that it's growing. And so our brains are struggling to catch up, right? So what that sort of means is, it was only not so long ago when falling out of the tribe meant death. So non-conformity equals death in the mind in many ways. Yeah. So not conforming also means like, oh my God, like, the social stigma of not conforming is equivalent to death. And death is not something that we, especially in the West, willingly walk towards, it's something that is actually kind of a scary topic. So yeah, that sort of stigma around it, I think, also conflates the issue.
So what motivated you to move past that fear? Like what was going on in your life? How are you feeling? Like what pushed you to that point?
Yeah, it was the pain. It was the pain. So the courage definitely helped as a moment of light that we discussed. That sort of went, and things were like, boom, 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 like things need to shift. That was my massive moment for me, in the most random place, and random time, but also the pain leading into it. So, and to give you an idea, the message in my heart has always been that your health is your purpose and your purpose is your health. And if you're off purpose, you're likely not healthy. And if you're not healthy, check your purpose. Yes, check your health and your gut and all that sort of stuff, but also check your purpose. Like, what is it that you were here to do that's bringing you the vitality for life that then goes, hey, I give a shit about like what I'm putting in my system, right? So that's my message. And then having, like, knowing that in my heart that this is my message, this is my prayer. And then looking at it and going, but I'm showing up for work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 days of the week. Yeah, because construction here in Australia is a very intense industry. Yeah, for 7 years was just like, I'm doing this thing that is not my calling. And like, can you imagine like having that frame of your health is your purpose and then not showing up for your purpose, knowing that it's jeopardizing your health, when health is everything for every individual, right? People go, I want $1 million. And it's like, okay, I'll give you $1 million today, but tomorrow you die. What's more important? And they're like, oh shit, I want to stay alive. So life is more important. Okay, I'll give you $1 million today, yeah, but you don't get to see your mum and dad ever again. Oh, No, I don't want that. I don't want the $1 million. I want to see my mom and dad. It's like, cool. So your parents and your relationships are more important. There are so many things that are more important, right? And so realizing that, wow, my health is really important, but then still showing up for this thing, which is like felt toxic for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was really rubbing the cat the wrong way, in a really nice way of putting it. When I share it from stage, I sort of describe, for those that are Matrix buffs and fans, I absolutely love the Matrix. So pardon me for nerding out for just a sec. But in the second movie, Morpheus takes Neo back to the machine city, which is actually the reality at the time, not being plugged into the Matrix. And you see that the machines have sort of just taken over the cities that humans used to occupy. And Morpheus tells Neo that actually it was the machines humans that scorched the sky, thinking that if we scorched the sky, there would be no solar energy for the machines to function. But in their wisdom, the machines realize that there is human beings are an energy source. We are energy, right? And they start to grow human beings in these pods, and then they plug them into this story, which is the Matrix. And so they think they're living out a story, but really they're just a battery cell, right? And that is the essence of the Matrix, right? So, and that, like being just a battery as a cog in a machine, which is what I felt like. It was just the corporate machine, this job that I was going to, and I was just this little cog that just had to keep showing up, and it was just the story that I was being told was just so like misaligned with, again, like I said, for me. And I run the risk of demonizing like corporate America, Australia, whatever, but it's actually like it serves so many people. It serves so many people. It's just, I think there's a better way emerging, and it's starting to emerge now, right? And for some people, like, having a job is absolutely perfect. For me, my inspiration were coaches, speakers, entrepreneurs, right? So that's what I was inspired to evolve into. Yeah. So everyone thinks when they show up to the Inspired Evolution, so I've got to be an entrepreneur. So no, being an entrepreneur is equally as awesome, right? It's about you following what your heart's desire really is, but not what someone else has told you to do.